The most sustainable way to love fashion isn't to stop shopping. It's to simply change the way you shop. So, change the way you shop with The RealReal. The RealReal is the world's largest, most trusted source for authenticated luxury resale. Every item kept in motion extends the life cycle of luxury and keeps it out of landfills. So, whether you shop secondhand on therealreal.com or exclusively purchase pieces you can sell back into rotation later, pass it on when you're done by selling it with The RealReal. You'll get money to shop Loewe, Celine, Prada, and more new-to-you finds. Then, repeat the cycle, guilt-free. Sell to shop, shop to sell with The RealReal. And only for the month of April, earn $100 extra when you sell with The RealReal. Go to therealreal.com to get started and earn $100 extra this Earth Month at therealreal.com. Terms apply.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Yo, thanks again for checking out another edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. All right, check it out. This is what I want to do today. There's a lot of stuff been going on. You would have had to have been hiding under a rock or locked up in prison or on the moon if you did not know what has been going on both socially and politically in this country over the last month or so. Obviously you had the tragic police shooting deaths of unarmed motorists in Minnesota. You had the gentleman in Baton Rouge, unarmed as well, shot by police. And then you had the horrific instance in Dallas where police were ambushed and shot, 5 police officers killed at a rally. So what I want to do actually today is kind of step outside of my boundaries as far as what I normally talk about on this show. I normally try to keep it light and lighthearted, but to be honest, I think it's I really haven't said much. Online, and I try not to get into too many debates online with people, because really and truly 140 characters isn't enough to necessarily display your feelings or emotions. I've said that a lot, both good and bad, and I think sometimes you have to temper that because you don't want stuff to get lost in the message. But it's bigger than just saying this has to stop. That goes without saying. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm feeling and what I see is going on. This is a crazy time. I think I was telling one of my boys the other day, like, yo, I remember hearing stories from my parents, my aunts and uncles about what life was like in this country in the 50s and 60s, and I always thought to myself, like, yo, I don't know if I could have lived during that time. And as crazy as it sounds, it's starting to feel like, what I'm going to want to say starting, it feels like we're back in those times. And this is crazy because we as a country, as a people, as a nation, shouldn't be like this, but this is where we are. So obviously it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. You have frustrations coming left, right, up, down, wherever. So I think where we are and how we got here, I think we have to really take a big look in the mirror and to see how we got to this point. I think when you just personally, like when I log on to social media, log on to Facebook or Twitter, honestly, because everybody has an opinion. Sometimes it's hard to deal with that stuff because it's like, I don't want to say hard. Maybe I should use a better phrase. Sometimes it's not worth dealing with because it's just you're almost bombarded by opinions, images, and not everybody's going to share your opinion, and not everybody's going to feel the same way that you do. Fortunately for me, there's there's the block and unfriend button, and I've unfriended a couple of people. I've blocked a few people. And to be honest, I always told myself I would never get to the point where I would necessarily distance myself from someone on social media because their political views or their religious views or their social views differ from mine, because we're all different. But when you're defending the Confederate flag, nah, you got to get the hell out of here. I can't. I'm sorry. You can. You have a right to your opinion, but you're not gonna be my Facebook friend and be talking about the Confederate flag. You just gotta kick rocks. Nonetheless, where should we start? All right, let's start with police brutality. Anybody that knows me knows that, and I've said this, countless times. I've talked about it in my blog. I told a story several times about being racially profiled to the point where I was, pulled over. Me and a coworker were in New Orleans and got pulled over, and cop threatened to shoot my coworker, who happened to be white, in the back when we were just down there on business. And I've talked about that. If you want, I can send you the link to the story. Nonetheless, I've often said that I haven't had any positive encounters with police. Never. Ever in my life. Never. And I'm not a bad guy. Never been in trouble. Never been arrested. Not gonna get arrested. But I've never had any positive encounters with police. I don't dislike the police. I just haven't had any positive encounters with the police. I actually like the police. They're okay. They're all right with me as long as they do their job. I get no beef from me. I will say this. I think it's totally, unequivocally crazy for someone to think it's okay to kill a policeman. I mean, let me say that again. It is totally, and I mean, it's insane to think that it is okay to kill a policeman. They are here to serve and protect. Now, I will say that there are a lot of cops out there that aren't doing what they're sworn to do, to serve and protect. They're actually causing more harm than good. That being said, a few rotten apples, can spoil a bunch, but I don't necessarily look at it like that. I mean, there are a lot of good cops out here, but you know what? When you decide to shoot a cop at a rally, you don't know how good the cop was or how bad the cop was, or anything like that, and it's unfortunate. So I will be the first to admit, I mean, that's ludicrous. They are here to serve and protect. My brother-in-law is a cop here in the city of Atlanta. I have the same wish for him as I do any other cop in this country. Do your job and get home safe. Period. That's all that I want. And, it's unfortunate because those policemen in Dallas, they were doing their job. They were protecting people and they didn't get home safely. And I think that's crazy. And I think, you have to be sick in the head to think that it is okay to kill a cop. That makes no sense whatsoever. And I think, there is a segment of the population, albeit a small segment, there's a segment of the population, and I've seen comments on social media and stuff like that. Not necessarily from my friends or people who follow me, but I've seen comments about more or less in a roundabout way saying that they kind of I understand, like it's almost like you're absolving people from killing cops. You can't kill cops, period. They are here to help us. They're here to serve and protect us. Now, again, there are some cops out here that are terrible. Even the cops that killed, these men. Even the cops that choked out Eric Garner. Even the cops that killed Tamir Rice. Even the cops that killed Sandra Bland. I mean, unfortunately, there's a bunch of names that I can name. And these are unarmed black people. That being said, the cops that killed Tamir Rice, I don't wish death on them. Because here's the thing about death. There ain't no coming back from that. You kill somebody, there's no coming. This ain't the movies. You know what I'm saying? So once that happens, it's done. It's a wrap. And everybody has a family. Everybody has, friends. And they have to deal with that loss. So don't get it twisted. I think those people are doing themselves and whatever causes that they may or may not have a huge injustice if you think that it's okay to kill a police officer. My thing is this, even like I said, even those who have killed the cop that killed Mike Brown, I don't want him dead, because somebody killing him, that doesn't serve any purpose. Should he be behind bars? Of course he should be. Should those cops who kill these other people be behind bars? Of course they should be. That's what I want. And I think that's what most people want. And again, I think we're doing ourselves a huge injustice if we paint all cops with the same brush. That being said, cops have to do their job. And if you're in a situation where it is clear that a suspect or a person that you deem a suspect does not have a weapon, there's no reason for you to shoot to kill. I don't understand that concept. Maybe it's because I'm not a cop. I don't know. I don't know what they're taught in police training. And I understand it's a stressful job, but maybe these police, departments across the country should do mental health screening and check on them and things like that. I don't know what they should do, but they have to do something on the preventive end, because no, it should not be a situation where someone ends up dying. We had a situation here in Metro Atlanta earlier this year where I think it was either earlier this year or late last year, where a man, where the cops were called about a man who was wandering around an apartment complex. The man was naked. And when they called into the police for backup, they let it be known that the man was naked. He was just wandering around, and there's some cell phone video camera of the guy walking around naked. Black man, unarmed black man. Obviously he's unarmed because he's naked. He didn't have anything in his hands. And as it turns out, this guy had some type of mental issues. He was back from the war or something like that. I mean, like he was bipolar, whatever the case may be. Well, he encounters the cops. The cop's story was that fact that they said he charged at him. I mean, bruh, let's think about this for a second. I'm a cop. I have a gun, and a naked man charges at me. At the very least, I, put the gun down and whip his ass. Or at the very least, tase him. But they shot him, killed him. And I mean, like, it's stories like that are occurring way too much. One time is one time too many. There should not be an Alton Sterling. There should not be the guy Castile in Minnesota. Those situations never had to happen. Show some restraint. If you show some restraint, I promise you, these situations can turn out a whole lot easier. Now, if somebody had a gun and they're shooting at you, I mean, as a cop, you're supposed to defend yourself. But then and only then, this shoot to kill mentality, I don't understand. But we have to have police reform. We have to. That's not up for debate. It's not. It has to be some type of reform for things to get better. And another thing that I think we have to go back to doing is that we have to make sure that the police know the people in the areas in which they're patrolling. Back in the day, cops used to, walk, they used to have a beat, and they knew everybody on the beat, or they knew the people in the area. And I understand it's different now because, especially in inner cities, when crimes happen, people don't want to say nothing. Snitches get dealt with, and nobody wants to be a snitch. I get it. I understand it. I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory, but I understand. Everybody minds their own business. I mean, it's not like how it was 40 years ago where you knew your whole neighborhood and everybody looked out for each other. It's not like that anymore. It is what it is. But I'll say this much. We have to make sure that we are commanding and demanding that police have some type of reform. And then if they don't have reform, make sure at the very least that in the event there's an instance where someone gets killed by a police officer, is that they'll do their due process, but at the same time make sure that they go to jail if they're guilty. I mean, like, I could name 10 cases off the top of my head there was no conviction with the cops. What does that say? The boys in blue will stand behind each other. They're in with the district attorneys. They're in with everybody, with the judges. So you make a few phone calls, say this, and the cops kind of stand behind their own code of honor, code of silence, if you will. And that's part of the problem. Police reform. It's a must. If you want to see things get better, that has to happen. Black Lives Matter. What can I say about Black Lives Matter? Let me start by saying the Black Lives Matter movement. Let me start by stating the phrase, Black Lives Matter. Okay, so for those of you listening, I want you to grab a pencil. Write this down. Black Lives Matter. Now, after the word matter, I want you to put a little period. Period. If I say Black Lives Matter, period, that's it. At the end of that statement, there's a period. So that means you have to acknowledge my sentence. You have to acknowledge the words that I've laid forth in front of you. The reason why I say that is because it's become cliche when people say Black Lives Matter. Somebody else comes back and say, well, all lives matter, or blue lives matter, or purple lives matter. Black Lives Matter doesn't mean that other lives matter. Doesn't mean that other lives don't matter. The fact that we have to say Black Lives Matter lets you know the severity of the situation. They do matter. My life matters. Your life matters. My kids' life matters. Your kids' lives matter. Your grandkids' lives will matter. But the thing about it is that if I have to scream it to the top of my lungs, you have to respect what I say. You may not like it, but you're going to acknowledge, but you have to put a period behind it. Because see, you got people spinning stuff now. Well, Black Lives Matter, but blue lives matter too. All lives. No, I'm not saying that. I said Black Lives Matter, period. Acknowledge my statement. Let's address my statement before we move on to all lives matter, or blue lives matter, or yellow lives matter, or green lives matter. Let's go back to my statement, because if you're listening, then you've heard what I said. Black Lives Matter, period. I think the Black Lives Matter movement is an incredible movement. But don't get it twisted. The Black Lives Matter movement isn't about violence. It's not about violence against cops. And here's the thing. You can ask. I dare. I challenge each and every one of you listening to this on the sound of my voice. Ask someone what they think of Black Lives Matter, the movement, not the phrase. Ask them if they know about what their principles are, and nobody can tell you four things about it, five things about it. They can't, because you know why? Because they don't know, because they've never took the time to invest, to think about it, or at least to learn. And that's not just white people, that's black people too. I hear a lot of older black people, the what I call the quote unquote old guard, crapping on Black Lives. Like I heard former Mayor Andrew Young, U.S. Ambassador, kind of joking about the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, he was a part of the civil rights movement. So he's an old head. He's when I say old head, I mean that as a term of endearment. His era paved the way for us to be where we are today. But I can promise you that the majority of the people nowadays will listen to the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement before they'll listen to Andrew Young. And maybe Andrew Young should stop and listen to Black Lives Matter. Maybe. Because they have a far reach reach much further than he probably thinks that they do. Now, the Black Lives Matter movement could use guys like Andrew Young and I don't want to say Al Sharpton, but because I have my own feelings about Al Sharpton, but that's another story for another day. Congressman John Lewis, all of these people, but you got to get with them and understand where it is that they're coming from. Just because they're young doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing. Look how far the Black Lives Matter movement started. The Black Lives Matter movement started August 9th, 2014, as Mike Brown lay dead on a St. Louis street. That's crazy to me. And look where they are. And I applaud them for their efforts and what they're doing. Again, they're not about violence. They're not the Black Panthers of the 60s and 70s. They're not the Black Mafia group or whomever. I mean, they're not terrorists. They're certainly not terrorists. Trust me. I'm friends with people in the Black Lives Matter movement. I mean, and they're not that kind of people. But you got to take the time to listen to what it is that they have to say. Listen to their demands. Listen to some of the things that they're proposing, because they're not just out here saying, okay, well, hey, we're just going to walk on the street and just, clog up the streets or what have you. They have an agenda. But hey, if you don't listen, how will you know what it is that they're talking about? You won't. Also, here recently we've seen these athletes. Started a few weeks ago with Carmelo Anthony speaking out, and then last week at the ESPYs, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, LeBron, Dwayne Wade. They spoke at the ESPYs eloquently about the changes that they would like to see and their levels of activism. And I think I thought it was great. But here's the interesting thing I always see when it comes to athletes. People want athletes to speak out on social issues until they say something that they don't agree with. I mean, the minute that you say something that people don't agree with, then they tell you just to shut up and play ball. I mean, you could just Google or jump on Twitter or Facebook. Right after the ESPYs, I mean, there was a lot of people saying, well, LeBron and those guys should just shut up and play ball. No, they have a voice. And I remember just, a couple months back, there was some talk about the fact that Tom Brady, quarterback of the New England Patriots, was going to endorse Donald Trump. And all of a sudden, all of these Patriots fans start telling Tom Brady to shut up. Hey man, if you want to endorse Trump, knock yourself out. Do whatever it is you want to do. I do understand that in this climate, I commend athletes for taking a stand. No, you're not going to be Muhammad Ali because your circumstances aren't the same as his. You're not going to be Jim Brown or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and those guys that not only did they take a stand, but they took losses. See, because anybody can speak out, but it really doesn't start hitting home until you start taking losses. When you start losing money, or you start losing endorsements, or maybe you lose your employment. That's when it's really, really when you're taking your losses because of something that you stand up and believe in. And I'm not saying that LeBron has to lose his job because, I mean, LeBron is, he's one of the best players in the NBA. I commend them for their stance. But I also want to point the finger at fans and people who say, well, they should just shut up and play ball. No, you can't have it both ways. Because if LeBron was saying something that you wanted him to say, you wouldn't have a problem with it. If LeBron remained silent, you would have a problem with it. Can't have it both ways. You just can't. The world doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. Next thing I want to talk about is, and I'll touch on this briefly. People tend to throw out when you talk about Black Lives Matter. I've heard white people and black people. Ironically, I've heard more black people talk about this than white people. But I'm pretty sure it's probably about 50-50. We want to talk about the crime. More importantly, the quote-unquote black-on-black crime. Here's what I will say about that. You can't quantify a cop shooting an unarmed black person by saying, well, I don't understand why black people get upset when a cop kills a black man because black people kill black people all the time. Now, let's break down that statement. What if a cop kills a black man or black woman? What does that have to do with black people killing black people? They're two separate issues. You can't combine the two. They're not together. They're exclusive of each other. You have to address one and then you have to address the other. So if we're going to say Black Lives Matter, period, don't forget the period because we're dealing with that statement. We're going to say Black Lives Matter. The crime that happens all across this country in cities, I think people, they lose sight of the fact that, and here's another thing I always hear. Oh, well, people don't care. They never fuss about it. You don't know that. Most people are bothered in their communities when they hear about people getting killed, particularly young people getting killed. Personally, I am extremely bothered about the bodies and the guns and the shootings that are occurring in Chicago right now, or this year, or for the past few years. I mean, it's more. You have more. Like you could have a Memorial Day weekend or 4th of July holiday weekend, and 50 people get shot, 8 get killed. I mean, 50. Think about what I just said. 50 people get shot, 8 people get killed, all on the south side of Chicago. That's the even more mind-boggling thing. All of this is in a concentrated area. It's not like it's West Chicago and then East Chicago and North Chicago. All is on the south side. But you can't say that people aren't bothered or they're not against the guns and the violence in that community, because most people who throw out the quote-unquote black-on-black crime statistics, they don't ever stop to think about the people in those neighborhoods or do their research as to what those people are doing to try to curb that. And then the second thing about this quote-unquote black-on-black crime, you have to understand, and I'm not absolving people for committing crimes, but you can't talk about crimes without talking about, one, the proximity. Okay, most crimes are going to occur in the same proximity of where people live. So that, by and large, you're going to commit crimes against people that live around you. There's going to be burglary. There's going to be homicide against people that live in your proximity. Somebody who lives in the south side of Chicago, they're not going all the way up to the north white suburbs to shoot somebody. It's not. Let's just keep it real. It's not going to happen. No more so than anybody in North Atlanta is going to come from the northern suburbs to Bankhead to shoot somebody. It's not going to happen. That's not the way that it works. So most crimes occur within a certain proximity. Who's within that proximity? People who look like you. People who live like you. People who dress like you. And again, that's not to absolve anyone from the crimes that are being committed. That's just the facts. Crimes occur within the proximity of where people live. So if there's quote unquote white on white crime, it's because people kill and shoot and rob and steal from people in their area. Same for black folk. Same for Hispanics. Same for Asians. If you're going to give the stats, give all the stats. And the next point I wanted to make on that is that when you talk about crime, you have to, if you're going to throw out the crime stats, talk about the social, economical situations that have put people in these situations where it's generational, where they've stayed in, where you've had generations of people that have stayed in these neighborhoods, stayed in these areas, stayed in these slums or ghettos or projects or wherever you want to call it, wherever these crimes are happening. You talk about the economic situation, talk about the educational level. All of that stuff is systematic. And if the system hadn't been fixed, then how do people escape that? They don't. They just don't. They try. I mean, who wouldn't want to escape poverty and escape, situations where your kids can't go out and play and have those kind of things without, when you worrying about whether or not they're going to get shot or killed or put in a gang or something like that? Who wouldn't want that lifestyle? The people in it don't want that lifestyle. You gotta be smart. But if you're going to read the stats, read all the stats. And lastly, what are my solutions? I think first and foremost, we have to listen. That's the thing that's not happening every time I turn on the TV, every time I log into social media. Nobody's listening. Everybody's got an agenda. Everybody. And the minute that you say something outside of my agenda, I don't want to hear what you have to say. That's the attitude that everybody takes. So nobody's paying attention to your tweets. Nobody cares about your tweets. Nobody cares about your Facebook posts. Nobody cares about your Instagram posts. They don't. I'm being honest. Yeah, you got a couple of your friends that'll chime in, but nobody cares. Nobody cares about your blog posts. Nobody cares about your podcast because nobody's going to be listening to this podcast. At least not those who probably should be listening to it. But you have to listen. I can't tell you Black Lives Matter and your retort is, well, all lives matter or blue lives matter. No, I don't know anybody that supports Black Lives Matter that's anti-cop. I don't know anybody that wants to kill a cop because, like I said, that's stupid in and of itself. But I want to be heard. And everybody wants to be heard. But at the same time, you have to listen too. Just listen. God gave us all 2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. We need to be listening more than we're talking. Get rid of your agendas. Be open to listen to other people as to what they have to say and to why they're hurting. Don't stand behind your agenda. Speak your agenda and then also let someone else speak theirs. And then find some type of middle ground or some type of understanding. That's the only way it's going to work. You know why socially this country moved away during the civil rights movement? Oh yeah, and that's not to diminish the marches and the sit-ins and everything that Martin Luther King led for was perfect, and it helped us get to the point where we are today. But one of the biggest things that really took place in this country was people who didn't live in the South, who lived in the North, when they turned on the TV at night to watch the news, they got tired, particularly white folks, they got tired of seeing black people being hosed down south with the dogs sicked on them and stuff like that. And eventually that got the movement going. And I think that's what we're seeing now. You go to a Black Lives Matter. I've seen Black Lives Matter rallies where, to be honest, not a whole lot of black people. A whole lot of white people. And that's encouraging. Because I don't think that necessarily you have white people that are against black. No, I don't think that at all. I think, like I said, you go the next time you see a Black Lives Matter rally on TV, look in the crowd. The crowds are pretty diverse. Pretty diverse. You have white kids showing up at schools with Black Lives Matter t-shirts on, getting expelled from school. That's happening in this country. I think you have to be willing to listen. Anybody can talk. Who wants to listen? That's the question that I have. So before you post something on Facebook, before you hit record for your podcast, before you send your little tweet, you're talking, but are you willing to listen? Because that's the easiest way for you to learn, if you listen. I don't know how much you're going to learn by talking. But we've got some decisions to make. We can either listen or we can keep going in this vicious cycle that we're going in. Because it's not getting any better. And when I look at where we are, I go back to that thought that I initially started off with. I never thought I'd see the 60s or the 50s and the 60s in my lifetime. And that's the way it looks. And I'm not saying that I have all of the answers, because I don't have an answer for a lot of stuff. But I do know this much. If you're willing to listen, you're willing to help. If you're not willing to listen, then you're just a part of the problem. And there's a whole lot of people that are interested in being part of the problem instead of being part of the solution. That's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out another edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. I'll holler at you next time. 5,000.
If you work in university maintenance, Granger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Granger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRANGER, visit Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Music, food, art. These things define and unite us, and they come in colors that breathe culture, colors that connect us with their variety and richness. You'll find that same variety in Valspar Ultra paints. Great coverage and durability starting at $29.98 per gallon. Enjoy everyday protection against scuffs and wear with a smooth, washable finish. We're made of colors, and with Valspar Ultra, you can reflect that pride of culture you have inside on every wall of your home. Available at Lowe's.